50 million barrels of oil. President Biden announcing the release of oil from strategic reserve to battle high gas prices. The Navy is helping with the supply chain backlog in California. This comes as 15 Republican governors launched Operation Open Road in an attempt to ease supply chain woes. And one of America's biggest retailers making a big announcement ahead of Thanksgiving. Target set to close all stores Thanksgiving Day going forward. Tune into Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Let's kick off with gas prices. Specifically, President Biden's plan to lower gas prices for American people ahead of the holiday traveling season. President Biden announced the release of 50 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve on Tuesday. A White House release says it's part of a group effort involving China, India, Japan, South Korea, and the United Kingdom. That's because the price of oil is determined on a global market and is based on supply and demand. At the height of the coronavirus pandemic last year, oil traded below zero as producers struggled to find locations to store the oil they had extracted. In recent weeks, the price of gas and inflation have become hot-button topics for Biden's administration. The White House said in a statement, American consumers are feeling the impact of elevated gas prices at the pump and in their home heating bills, and American businesses are too, because oil supply has not kept up with demand as the global economy emerges from the pandemic.
Gas prices are high, they're too high.
Right now, the national average is $3.40. That's 3 cents more than a month ago and $1.29 more than a year ago. 81 cents more than in 2019.
The American consumer never likes to pay more at the pump,
especially heading into the holidays.
But we are focused on doing everything that we can to make sure that American consumers are not bearing the short end of the stick during these periods. And so that's what the president's going to be talking about.
As for Biden's announcement today, some saying it's only a short-term fix.
No president controls the price of gas. Oil is sold on a global market. It is, as we see, as everybody's coming out of COVID, there is a huge increase in demand. The supply has not caught up.
Crude oil prices have surged to 7-year highs, with global demand seeing a sharp rebound from the pandemic lows. Republicans have blamed Biden's policies for the rising prices, such as axing the Keystone XL pipeline and freezing new oil and gas drilling leases on federal land. The White House insisting that Biden is using every tool available to him to work to lower prices and address the lack of supply of oil, saying the U.S. Department of Energy will make available 32 million barrels of crude under an exchange mechanism from all 4 separate storage sites. On top of this, another 18 million barrels will be made available under a previous congressional authorization. And Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm said in a statement, as we come out of an unprecedented global economic shutdown, oil supply has not kept up with demand, forcing working families and businesses to pay the price. Now, gas isn't the only area of concern. Another major roadblock is supply chain issues. And now the Navy is stepping in to help in California. The Navy has partnered with the Oxnard Harbor District to help decrease congestion at Port Hueneme. A standing joint-use agreement allows the Navy to support commercial supply chain logistics when activated. The agreement was activated in November to help reduce shipping congestion at Los Angeles County's major ports. It comes as tangled supply chains have boosted costs and limited the ability of everything from automobiles to clothing to toys. Earlier this month, the White House launched a dashboard to track progress in easing the backlog of imported goods. It's aimed to address fears about inflation and hard-to-find goods heading into the holiday season. The White House is also working to relax trucking regulations and persuade ports and railroads to operate around the clock. This comes as 15 Republican governors have launched Operation Open Road in an effort to ease supply chain woes. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee is leading the initiative. He says in a statement, Republican governors across the country have committed to doing everything we can to solve a growing supply chain crisis that has resulted in backed up ports and empty shelves. Adding, we call on the Biden administration to join us in Operation Open Road by suspending burdensome regulations on the trucking industry and therefore ensuring small businesses and American consumers have access to the goods they need this holiday season. At the federal level, Operation Open Road calls for the Biden administration to suspend federal regulations that require commercial driver's license holders to be 21 years old and lower the age to 18. They also call on Biden to suspend, quote, the burdensome federal mandate for COVID-19 vaccines for all private employees, specifically for the trucking and transportation industry, so that driver shortages are not further exacerbated by an additional barrier to employment. Lee says in an open letter announcing the launch that if we can get government out of the way, our trucking industry can safely do what it does best, move. Now, let's turn to the federal vaccine mandate. The deadline was Monday. According to a senior White House official, 95% of the 3.5 million federal workers have complied ahead of the deadline. Around 90% have received at least one dose, and another 5% have requested an exemption or an extension. The White House considers those who are in the process of getting vaccinated and those requesting exemptions also in compliance. Officials say for those who haven't complied, agencies are offering an education and counseling process, followed by additional enforcement steps over time if needed. They won't be dismissed immediately. The Office of Management and Budget will release data on each agency's compliance with the mandate Wednesday. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the administration does not expect disruptions to government services over the vaccine mandate deadline. She also said, quote, what we have seen is there is a surge in attestations and vaccination as we get closer to the deadline, which is certainly encouraging, but we want to have the final data Monday. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg told NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday that we've seen numbers approaching 99% of people have gotten in their information per the requirements. Either they're vaccinated or they're in the process of it, or they've put in a request for an exemption. This comes as the Biden administration is asking the U.S. Sixth Court of Appeals to reject an order from another federal appeals court on Tuesday. They are asking the court to reinstate its OSHA vaccine mandate for private businesses with 100 or more workers. The White House argues, simply put, delaying the standard would likely cost many lives per day, in addition to large numbers of hospitalizations, other serious health effects, and tremendous expenses. They go on to argue that the Fifth Circuit's assertion that the mandate would deal significant economic damage to the United States is incorrect. After the ruling, OSHA last week said it would suspend enforcement of the rule, although the agency said it was confident the Biden administration would prevail in the courts. The White House has continued to urge private businesses to follow the mandates and implement them. And now, for a change, one of America's biggest retailers is making a big announcement ahead of Thanksgiving. Target will now close all of its stores on Thanksgiving and every year from now on. That is, until further notice, of course. Many big box stores, including Target, closed last year on Turkey Day because of the pandemic. And now, according to the company's CEO, that will be their new standard. This is also a sign of how the holiday shopping traditions have changed for retailers. Deals are starting earlier and spread out across the season. Walmart, Kohl's, and Best Buy will also be closed on Turkey Day this year. Some states have even banned big box stores from opening on Thanksgiving. A few big chains will be open, like Whole Foods, Kroger, and Dollar General. Hours may be limited, so double check before you head out for retail therapy on Thursday. Speaking of retail therapy, what about a necklace for $20 million? Tiffany & Co. just unveiled what it calls the most expensive piece of jewelry ever. The world's fair necklace was unveiled in Dubai on Sunday. It features 180 carats of diamonds set in platinum, and the centerpiece is an 80-carat oval, flawless D-color Empire diamond. The Empire diamond was ethically sourced in Botswana, cut and polished in Israel, and set in Tiffany's workshop in New York City. The luxury retailer has not yet put a price on the necklace, but industry experts estimate the value to be between $20 million and $30 million. And now, before we end, it's National Espresso Day. It's observed in jittery fashion every year on November 23rd. Most of us think of espresso as that thick, dark, wonderfully foamy liquid energy that comes out of a big, expensive machine at the coffee shop. But according to nationaldaycalendar.com, before the machine came along, espresso just meant a single serving of coffee made to order. Then Italian inventor and businessman Luigi Bizzarra changed the whole game in 1901 when he patented the first known espresso machine. The invention paved the way for countless caffeine concoctions, using espresso shots as the base. We're talking lattes, mochas, cappuccinos, macchiatos, and more. Espresso makes them all possible. And it's not just in the cup either. Espresso can be used in baked goods and ice cream too. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.